The story begins with the daughter of Priam, Cassandra. Cassandra had been loved by Apollo, who had given her a power to foretell the future. When Cassandra ultimately refused Apollo's love, he was unable to revoke the divine gift he'd given her. So instead, he made it to where no one would believe the foretellings of Cassandra. When the Greeks sacked Troy, Cassandra was in Athena's temple, clinging to the goddess's image for protection. Cassandra was violently treated for doing so, but her people would not believe her when she warned of the danger ahead.
Athena, furious at the occurrence and her lack of protection of Cassandra, pleaded to Poseidon.
Let me get revenge! I want the Greeks to have a bad homecoming! Stir up the waters, Poseidon!
Agamemnon's ships will sink, Ajax will drown, and a whole bunch more people's gonna die.
Poseidon went through with the plan of vengeance for Athena. One being, however, didn't suffer as much as the other Greeks, but far longer than any one of them: the great Odysseus. Back in Ithaca, the hometown of Odysseus, much chaos was arousing. It had been 10 years since Odysseus had been out at sea fighting. Most people believed he was dead, since he hadn't been seen in 10 years. But not Odysseus' wife and son, Penelope and Telemachus.
Mother, you cannot go on acting like a widow. You cannot lead these suitors on acting like you're interested in them.
My dear boy, I have the most hope out of anyone that Odysseus will return home to us very soon. But as for now, we need these suitors to work for us. I must act like I'm the slightest bit interested.
Well, I guess we'll just pray to the gods for Odysseus' safe return.
Back in Olympus, a meeting was to take place, but the powerful Poseidon was absent this particular day.
My fellow gods and goddesses, I must admit the truth to you about a story of vengeance. I was supposed to protect the prophetess, one whose prophecies were never believed, and I failed. I now ask my dearest Poseidon to send horror over the waters of our enemies. It has been 10 years for those who are suffering, one in which I was very fond of. His name was Odysseus. My homesick Odysseus is now a prisoner of the nymph Calypso. I long to help him, and I feel bad for the great trouble I have caused.
I'm saddened. We must put our heads together and think of a way for him to return. Hermes, I must send you to Calypso to start Odysseus on his way home. She will be forced to listen to you as your god.
Oh, thank you, fellow Olympians. You have done me well. I must go speak to Odysseus' family at once.
Athena, disguised as one of many suitors looking for marriage with Penelope, went to Ithaca to talk to Telemachus. After sitting down with wine in the great house, Athena and Telemachus began talk of Odysseus.
I think he's dead. Every man from near and far has come to try and woo my mother, but she remains faithful to her husband and resists. It's a shameful tale to hear. If Odysseus were to return home, those men would have a bitter end. You need to go and find 2 men, Nestor and Menelaus.
With that, Athena rose and silently departed, and Telemachus came to the realization that the visitor must have been divine, and he must do as he was told, to find more information of his father's fate. The next day, Telemachus attempted to get a boat to go to Nestor's house, but failed. He prayed to Athena for help. She quickly came in another disguise to give Telemachus a ship and embark on the voyage together. Telemachus had no idea Athena was sailing with him. Nestor, seeing a ship sail in,
Hello! What a lovely day for visitors. Can I help you two with something?
Yes, sir. I'm in search of an inquiry of my father, Odysseus. I haven't seen or heard from him in 10 years. Do you know of his fate?
No, my boy. We did not leave Troy together. I haven't heard of him since the war. Find a man named Menelaus for information.
Alone, Telemachus traveled to Sparta. There he met Menelaus, was welcomed into his fine palace, and discussed the whereabouts of his father.
Hello. I am the son of the great Odysseus. I have not heard of my father for 10 years, but I heard you have. Can you inform me of his fate?
You look familiar. This is a touchy subject. Odysseus was of greatness. I went through hardships to find his fate. Your father has been trapped on an island by a nymph, Calypso. He was not tortured. He's just homesick.
Meanwhile, Hermes took Zeus's orders and made the nymph Calypso free Odysseus.
O divine nymph, I have been ordered by the almighty Zeus to inform you to free the innocent Odysseus.
This man is shipwrecked. I saved his life and cared for him, but I must listen to the great Zeus. This is unfair.
Just be careful not to make the great Zeus angry.
With this, Calypso generously assisted Odysseus build a ship before freeing him. Odysseus was so joyful to begin home, but he knew his journey would not be easy.
When Odysseus began to embark on a journey home, Poseidon caught sight of him and instantly knew what the gods had done behind his back. He created a terrible tsunami for Odysseus to face.
Happy are the men who died on the fields of Troy. For this I will die ignobly.
Ino of the slim ankles, a kind goddess at hand, assisted Odysseus.
Dear man, abandon your ship and swim to shore, for I will protect you.
Odysseus had no option but to listen, for he was also facing death. He let go of the ship, and as waves after waves were thrown towards him, Odysseus swam safely for 2 days to shore. When upon reaching land, the resourceful hero found food and rested for multiple days.
Oh.
Nausicaa, the daughter of the king of the Phaeacian island where Odysseus landed, was out taking care of laundry near a river when a wild-looking naked man stepped out of the bushes.
I am a suppliant at your knees, O great queen. I cannot tell if you are mortal or divine, but as I look at you, I wonder. Be gracious to your suppliant, a shipwrecked man, friendless and helpless, without a rag to cover him.
You arrived at this Phaeacian island, full of hospitality. Come meet my parents, for they will greatly welcome you.
The next day, in the presence of all the island's chiefs, Odysseus explained himself and his story of his 10 years of wandering.
10 years ago, I departed from Troy, and a storm struck the fleet. All of my ships and I were at sea for 9 days. The 10th day, we encountered the Lotus Eaters, and if I wouldn't have chained my crew down on the ship to get away, they would still be tasting the honey-sweet flower. From there, my crew and I encountered the Cyclops, Polyphemus, who defeated some of my crew. Next, my crew received a gift of wind, and some ignorants on board thought the bag was gold and opened it, releasing the magical wind. The power of the ship took off and landed in the Lastrian country, full of gigantic people and cannibals. The ships that entered this harbor were destroyed, and only my ship survived because I was last and saw the danger. Next was the realm of Circe, who was a beautiful yet dangerous witch who turned men to swine. One scared crew member saw what happened to the men and returned to me and told me. I left looking for help and found Hermes, who gave me a herb to cure my men. Circe was so marveled, she took us in for a year. Before leaving, Circe told me to travel to Hades to meet the prophet Tiresias, who would tell me how to get home. My crew and I did this, and were given instructions to return home, but with warning that there would be obstacles. My crew faced the island of the Sirens, but we put wax in our ears to avoid forgetting all else by their power. We reached the island of the Sun, where sacred oxen surrounded the place. While I was away, the crew took it upon themselves to kill and eat the oxen. With Sun furious, our ship was struck with lightning, and everyone aboard drowned but I. I was able to swim to a nearby island with Calypso, where I was imprisoned for many years. When I got the chance to return home, bad weather struck my boat, and I found my way here.
At that, the kind people of the land sent homesick Odysseus home out of sorrow and pity. He returned to Ithaca that day, not even recognizing his own homeland.
Athena appeared to him, welcoming him home, and explaining the mess in his household.
I will disguise you as an old beggar until we get things straight. Go and visit with the faithful priest until I send for you.
As it happened, Telemachus was visiting the old faithful while Odysseus was there, and holding a conversation with his own father without knowing who he was truly talking to. With that, Athena appeared and beckoned Odysseus.
I will turn you back to your old self, so your son will now recognize you.
Odysseus returned.
Telemachus, I am your father.
Much anxious talk followed. Odysseus, yet to meet his wife again, was turned back into a beggar, and a plan was created by he and Athena. Odysseus was to act as a suitor, trying to take Penelope's hand in marriage. Telemachus, knowing of Athena's plan, told Penelope that a contest must be held to determine her husband. She went along and forwarded the plan. Hear me, my suitors. Here is the bow of the great Odysseus. He who takes this bow and shoots it through 12 rings in a straight line, I will take as my beloved husband.
Come on, you weak boys, show your strength and man up.
With celebration, Odysseus and Telemachus, along with Athena's help, killed everyone in the room, destroying the evil suitors. For Penelope was asleep during all this, and when her maid awoke her, there was no belief.
Awake, my dear, for Odysseus has returned home, and all the suitors are dead.
Oh, crazy lady, I was sleeping so sweetly. Off with you, and be glad you were not slapped like anyone else would have been.
Madam, indeed, Odysseus is here. He showed me his car, and it is really him.
You won't quit. Let me see what all this nonsense is about.